All right, so let's get started. Welcome, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending upon where you're tuning in from. And thank you for joining Horizon DX, presented by eSpirit, Mobify, and OSF Digital. My name is Michael Gerard. I'm the CMO, the head of marketing at eSpirit, and I will be your MC for this event. So our virtual event today, it's focused on bringing you insight, best practices to help your companies be successful. But let me just take 2 minutes to introduce each of the 3 companies that have made this event possible. First of all, eSpirit. eSpirit's content management software helps turn your customers into lifelong fans, empowering marketing, e-commerce, and IT teams to easily add content-driven experiences into your e-commerce application, digital channel, be it web, mobile, digital sign, whatever. And we help you to accomplish this through our digital experience platform. And that includes a hybrid headless content management system, CMS, and AI-driven personalization software. Our customers represent some of the world's largest e-commerce manufacturing and banking companies, representing over $500 billion in revenue. Mobify is a web storefront for headless commerce. The Mobify platform is used by enterprise retailers to innovate on their customer experience without taking on the operational risks and complexities of hosting, securing, scaling, and monitoring a web storefront. And our third company sponsoring the event today, OSF Digital, formerly OSF Global, with its brand OSF Commerce, is a top digital transformation specialist and leading global commerce solutions company. They possess expertise in omnichannel integrations, internationalization, and commerce optimization, and help brands succeed against the challenges present in the world's rapidly changing digital environment. So moving forward here, welcome again to our virtual event. Now, the event was intended to be an in-person event, and it was going to be at the TD Garden. That's what you see in the picture here. TD Garden, based in Boston, Massachusetts in the US. It's the home arena for the Boston Bruins of the US National Hockey League, Boston Celtics of the US National Basketball Association. In the bottom right there, I put a picture of some of the concerts they have. This one is Aerosmith, actually. So, as a result of COVID-19, the team worked really hard over the past 4 weeks or so to shift this entire event online, as I know much of you and your companies have. So thanks to the whole team for doing that, and thanks everyone for joining us. And it does give us an opportunity to share this event much further beyond the boundaries of New England. And we have folks online from across the US, Canada, South America, Europe, Asia, from across the world. So very excited to have everyone join us. So let's move forward here, and let me start off with our agenda. So today we're going to bring you an afternoon of digital experience trends from the perspective of 3 digital experience thought leaders. And we'll also have a panel discussion about creating lifelong fans out of customers with experts from 3 market-leading brands. We're going to have Melanie Sisk from ASICS, Matt Rosenthal from Pure Hockey, and Laura Natao from Seabags. So to make this event as interactive as possible, please do enter any questions you may have into the Q&A panel at the bottom of your screen. And if you're following along on LinkedIn or Twitter, you can use hashtag HorizonDX, and follow us along, send out the messages on there. Our team's out there putting messages across social media. So let's interact any way we can in this virtual environment. We also have a great set of prizes we'll be giving out throughout the afternoon, selecting at random from the people that are online, as well as asking a couple trivia questions here and there throughout the sessions. Prizes will include a tote bag from Seabags, thank you, one of our panelists, and food delivery service e-gift cards. We'll be announcing a winner as we're wrapping up the first session and also at the end. So please do stick around, and since you'll need to be present to win. If you find you're having any technical issues, please use the raise your hand function or send a private chat to the panelists, and Sean on our team will help you out. Now, due to the nature of being at home, there is a potential for internet connectivity to cut in and out at times. Please be patient as we work through it. We're also recording the event, so in case you need to jump off for any reason, you don't have to worry about missing any of the content. We will be sharing it with you after the event. So that is our agenda for this afternoon, and I'd like to start things off. We're going to do 2 polls. First thing, we'll kick off with the first poll to see who's tuning in today, what everyone's job function is, and then we'll throw in another poll for fun about what everyone is currently drinking. So Pay on our team is going to manage the poll. So Pay, if you could bring that up, please. Let everybody put in their information. And do enter your information in there. You can send it along. And let's just give it another 5 or 10 seconds to fill that out. Like I said, the first question, just to get a feel for who's in our audience. We do find that from a digital experience perspective, that there's definitely this variation of folks that are in IT, they're in marketing, and then we also have marketing technologists quite frequently as well that are participating in this and take part in what the digital experience strategies are for organizations. All right. Okay, so I think that should just about do it. Thank you very much for filling that in. And as you can see, what job roles we have in the audience, it's a good mix right across. And this is quite often what we do see is we have folks from IT, customer experience, marketing, and so there's a good mix of that. So second poll, something in here, just a little bit for fun, what's everyone currently drinking? As Pay is pulling up that poll, we did joke around with a bunch of questions about what we could ask. One of the questions I asked, a little bit on the edge here is, are you wearing pants or not? So I think there was some data I was reading coming out of Walmart that they had a huge surge in the purchase of shirts and jackets and other things for the top part of people, but their sales of pants have gone down. So I was corrected, and we didn't put up that question. But please do fill this out, and let's get these results back. And just for fun, we can see what people are up to, what they're drinking. And should take care of it. Good. All right. Great. Thanks, Pay, for managing that. Appreciate it. Water. Okay, good. So we got some good coffee drinkers out there. Good to hear that. We'll do our best so you won't need as much caffeine. All right. Thanks everyone for participating in that poll. I didn't see any Scotch drinkers in there. Hopefully that means that you do like Scotch, but it's just too early in the day for it. All right. So without further ado, let's get underway with our first session. And this is State of the DX Movement, 6 Trends Not to Miss. And so first things here, the experts that are joining us. I'll be joined by 2 experts from OSF as well as Mobify. And I'd like to introduce them, and then we'll dive in, and I'll do the first 2, and then Francois and Drew will take the next 2. So we have Francois Carrette, OSF's Digital Regional Vice President of Sales for Canada. Francois is an agile and creative corporate entrepreneur, has over 20 years experience in digital commerce management. Francois advises companies on growing their business with the right digital solutions that lead to meaningful interactions with their audiences. With a strong marketing and CRM background, particularly in e-commerce project management, Francois makes customers' needs an IT reality based on his constant communication, coordination, and clear understanding of internal project managers and developers. Secondly, Drew Lau. Drew is an e-commerce veteran with over a decade in leadership roles at innovative e-commerce tech companies and has led and advised successful e-commerce projects around the world with brands such as Symantec, Time, and Debenhams. Drew leads the team in charge of Mobify's product strategy and roadmap with a key focus on leadership, team development, and technology partnerships. And finally, a little bit more about myself. As I mentioned earlier, my name is Michael Gerard. I'm the head of marketing at eSpirit. I have over 20 years of marketing and sales experience in the tech industry, with 10 of those years having been at IDC, managing their CMO and sales advisory practices. Prior to joining eSpirit, I was the head of marketing for Curata, an industry-leading content marketing software vendor. All right, so these are the 3 folks. We'll be running through our trends. And so let's dive right in here. And for a quick time check, we're at 1:10 and gives us about a half an hour to go through the State of the DX Movement. Take a break before we get onto our panel. So first 2 trends here, the way I broke it up, the first trend is taking more a look at in terms of what the consumer's perspective is. And more specifically, what you have on the screen here, we all have our own favorite retail stores. And so my favorite retail store is Marathon Sports. It's a regional store. Wonderful, amazing store. Now, I know it's a hard time right now for folks with COVID-19, being able to go to stores unless they're essential stores. But, thinking back prior to a month ago, loved going into Marathon Sports. Why did I like going into this sports store that's an expert in running, walking, and fitness, sneakers, and equipment? As I go into the store, it's vibrant, it's inspiring. There are this cool paraphernalia on the wall, and it inspires me about running and what I love to do. The staff that are there, they're informative, they're educational, they're very personal, humanizing, if you will, and there's a sense of community. So the people you see here in this picture are actually part of a running group organized by Marathon Sports. So this is, think about your favorite retail store and what you love about it. And then if we think about, the importance of an online store and all the more so in today's COVID-19 environment, taking a look at today's online stores, they're web-like, they're one-dimensional, they're very product-oriented. It looks like a warehouse as you look at the different products. And, the example here, if you recognize the company, hopefully not, it's just one example, and there are many like that. It's impersonal. It's robotic, it's predictable. And as I mentioned, this is just one example, but as I went across the internet, I pulled lots of examples of companies like this. And it's not that these e-commerce companies, their marketers, e-commerce folks, they understand the importance of experience-driven commerce. It's not that they don't get that and they don't want to create that environment, but they're hindered by their e-commerce platforms. Now, their e-commerce platforms, don't get me wrong, they're wonderful solutions, but they were simply developed to manage thousands of SKUs, to manage shopping carts, to help manage the transaction, not to help create better experiences for buyers, to as much as possible to simulate what's happening in person, real environment. And so that's where this trend number one I wanted to get to that I think is so important as we think about e-commerce and being more successful and even bridging into brick and mortar, is humanizing digital interactions, where we need to inspire, we need to connect with buyers, and just as it's so important in person, that's important online. And so humanized digital interactions, okay, that's great, but more specifically, I wanted to provide two hardcore paths with examples of how to humanize digital interaction. The first one is we need to inspire e-commerce experiences, more specifically with content. So at a real simple level, you have the e-commerce platform that folks are using in order to sell their solutions. We need to make it easy for them to modify the content on their e-commerce sites. It could be as simple as modifying text, verbiage, brands, images, etc. And that's where a CMS, a content management system, coupled with a commerce platform comes into play. From a more advanced perspective, to inspire shoppable social media, making it easy for e-commerce managers, for marketers to bring in a social media feed, folks talking about your brand, bring it into your e-commerce site, and then connect what's in that, be it a Twitter image or Pinterest, whatever it is, connect that image, that social media post, with the actual product to make it shoppable. That's one example. The second example to inspire is shoppable videos. So as someone is looking at a video on your site, embedded in your site, at certain points in that video, products pop up on the right side of the screen. And this is something, once again, that is very easy to do with a hybrid headless CMS. And number three, nurturing with content. And marketers, e-commerce managers think they've been very good at this with their e-commerce companies. And it's just a matter of continuing to nurture folks and leveraging this inspirational content to do it. Secondly, personalize experiences across channels. So there's a personalization aspect and across different channels. Gifts, offers. How do we make sure to provide personal offers for folks to engage with them? How do we offer recommendations? What's popular, complimentary, or what's just for you, so that you can individualize, you can do it by micro-segment, whatever it might be. And then, of course, providing this across different channels, okay, be it through voice, digital signs, etc. So very important. So inspire and personalize. And I do encourage you, check out tinyurl.com/HorizonDX1. And you'll see a video in there, an example of content plus commerce in action. And that one specifically is with Salesforce Commerce Cloud and eSpirit's hybrid headless content management system. But we could do that with SAP or any of the other commerce platforms out there as well. So humanized digital interactions. Second trend I wanted to get to, and let me set this up a little bit. In fact, only thing constant is change, keeps happening quicker. Now, I'm going to go pretty quick through this earlier years, but if you think about, 1897, the first Sears Roebuck catalog, where they were selling things just online, not even a store. They opened their first store in 25. Things are changing. In Minnesota, you have the first mall. Wow, it's exciting. It's entertaining. They're bringing people in. And then in 1971, as we move forward a little bit more, the ARPANETs used to arrange a cannabis sale between students at Stanford and MIT, later described as a seminal act of e-commerce. So we have e-commerce just starting to kick off. And then if we continue to move forward very quickly, 1994, of course, Amazon, $280 billion in revenue if we look at them today. And then fast forwarding again, you know, brick and mortar is dead. We all heard that. Amazon, Alibaba with these marketplaces, Wayfair and Casper in terms of furniture and mattresses, respectively, all online. Is brick and mortar dead? Well, I like this Forbes quote, you know, in 2018, physical retail isn't dead, but boring retail is, right? And one example I wanted to put of that's definitely not boring retail is Sugarfina. And if you haven't been into their stores, yes, really amazing going. It's an experience on its own. It's wonderful candy. They have very, very cool gummy bears that are infused with different types of things. And so, for example, they have a gummy bear infused with rosé wine, with champagne, with other fascinating things. And so that's an example of experience and how it can be a differentiator. And, you know, you see a lot of these these native online folks, you know, moving to in-person stores. All right, so the physical retail, it's still an important part of it, flagship stores, and it's really a brand activation point. And, you know, of course, as I say that, you know, needless to say, COVID-19, you know, significant changes. And so, yes, there's change, we all get it, but it's happening much quicker. And so you see the, you know, lack of stock in certain parts. The entire supply chain management process has been disrupted and changed. Some distribution facilities are being bypassed entirely to go right to the stores for the essential items. You know, certain stores are closing, and what's going to happen next? What we do know is that it's going to happen very quickly, whatever it is. And so this gets to my trend number 2. Agility is no longer a buzzword. It's a mandate for survival. And you might be thinking, oh, thanks, Michael. I get it. Change happens quickly, agility. So let me get more specific here in terms of what I see, in my opinion, you know, are 3 key areas to think about internally and for your own organization. Number 1, flexibility. So having an adaptable digital experience ecosystem. And more specifically, as an example for this, is for your content management system, for your commerce, your e-commerce platform, thinking about headless. And the image I have on here, I won't say who it is. Send a text in to our panelists, to Sean and Pei. Let us know who you think that is, and you know, we'll select one of the folks that identifies it correctly for one of our gifts. But anyway, headless CMS, headless commerce, basically it's the opportunity to separate the presentation layer of content-driven e-commerce from the back end. So for example, for content management, you know, the front end, now you have the opportunity to use fantastic new software development and programming languages to create more exciting, latest generation experiences for your customers online. And you can do that without even touching the back end content management, the back end commerce. So that's what it means headless, where the body is the back end management processes and operational orchestration processes, and the head is the presentation parts. You separate them and it makes it easier, and the whole process happens quicker. So it increases flexibility. The second thing is speed. And so there's speed for your business users and your marketers, your e-commerce folks, to be able to get these inspirational content-driven e-commerce changes to the market quicker. And this means enabling business users to do what they do best quickly without having to always go to developers and IT. So it's making it a more rapid process and a lower cost process. So 2 examples to do this: quick start technologies, leveraging software that you can get up and running very quickly. And so, for example, we have eSpirit as an experience accelerator, where we get you up and running very quickly with our content management solution with out-of-the-box technologies to integrate in your current systems. Another example is no-code, low-code user interfaces. Once again, so your non-technical folks can more easily, can more quickly enable changes, can bring content-driven commerce to reality, like I mentioned earlier. And the third key thing here, in terms of agility, is intelligence, enabling insight-driven action. And so one good solid example for this is AI-driven personalization, where yes, you're managing data to a better extent across internal, external, and behavioral data, but then you can develop experiences based upon that data, and you can personalize it, you can have micro segments, and then you can get it across any channel. Okay, so that's a second trend I wanted to put in there. Agility is no longer a buzzword, mandate for survival. And so let me hand it off now to Drew Lau from Mobify, and he can jump in with trend 3.
Great. Thanks, Michael. Appreciate that. Well, welcome from Vancouver. I am taking over the screen right now, and we're going to jump back a few screens so I can get back to my starting point. So give me 1 second while I go back a few slides. All right, cool. So thank you for having me on. I am here to talk about really 2 related trends related to COVID. That is definitely top of mind for everyone. So I wanted to talk about what trends we're seeing in this space for digital experiences, and also how we're seeing various parties react to them. So trend 3 for us is, we're seeing an unprecedented dramatic increase in e-commerce for verticals related to home and well-being during this time. There are a lot of different data sources on this. If you look at ours and what we're seeing at least a double-digit month-over-month increase in sales for e-commerce across all verticals, with week over week anywhere up to like 73, 74%. Again, many data sources that verify generally we're seeing at least a double-digit increase, but that may change over time, especially if you dig into like specific verticals and specific categories of products. So first thing we want to do is look at a bit of a poll. So Pay is going to flash up a poll here. We're interested in seeing how well you have taken a look at some of the data coming out. So as of Friday, April 3rd, a survey of 3,000 merchants showing an increase in month-over-month sales. Which category saw a 1,300% increase in sales? Is it food and beverage, household goods, nutrition, or baby products? Definitely, that's a big spike. Definitely a big surge in 1,000%. Not, you don't see that very often. So which one is it? Let's give the attendees a few seconds to go vote, and we'll share exactly which one that is. All right, I think we're going to close the vote in just a couple seconds here, in 5 seconds. So let's see the results in just a second here. Okay, so this, in terms of the increase of 1,376% was baby products. That makes sense. People are self-isolating at home. They are making sure they provide enough of the things they need for their babies. There's a parallel trend in pet products where your fur babies are also being taken care of. And this is interesting. We see definitely a bit of a decline back to kind of closer to normal sales numbers as that after that initial surge. But from the ShipBob team, this is a big trend in some of the categories that's seeing a big surge. And think about this. This 1,000% increase is definitely something you may see in retail if you prepare for, say, Black Friday or peak trading seasons, but definitely not something we normally see during kind of a March, April perspective. So have teams been able to prepare or ramp for this, or are we running into areas where we're seeing systems and teams and process being stressed? On a parallel side, though, if we look at other verticals like apparel, we're seeing a bit of a decrease. So again, people are mainly staying at home. They're not really looking at as much as buying new apparel to wear outside. We're seeing a month-over-month decrease of around 41%, and week-over-week, still seeing a bit of variance there, but down about 20% as according to the ShipBob team. And that's an example of a vertical that isn't seeing that big surge in interest. And as we go into why that is, we have to get into a bit of a shopping behavior. So if we look at shopping behavior, I think Michael already referred to this. There is a big burst in interest in buying work shirts, but not so much in pants. So both Walmart and Men's Warehouse started to run low on inventory of work shirts, mainly because you could be like me. I could be wearing, just my top, and you wouldn't know because we're all working from home. But if you look at the Stackline team and what they looked into like some of the top 100 fastest growing and declining categories of e-commerce. I've kind of put a subset of the top 100 there. And interesting enough, if you're like a lot of the typical households and Instagram kind of people posting their day-to-day now, there's a big surge in, disposable gloves is the top one according to them, but bread machines and everyone's becoming bread artisans. Everyone's shifting to figure out how to become active and physical within their homes, weight training, buying second monitors to be productive from work from home, and also buying a lot of craft kits to keep their kids occupied as they try to balance out, working and also looking after, family members. So again, as you go into specific categories, we're seeing surges in very specific products and not just like overall verticals. And you start wondering, how are teams adapting to this? So you tend to see teams adapt in one of two ways. On the more unfortunate side, we're seeing a lot of retailers being able to, kind of react in a way where they're unfortunately shutting down some of their e-commerce sites as well as their physical stores. So look at recent ways of trying to handle this unprecedented surge. Again, you're looking at 1,000% surge in interest in your products and traffic to your sites and to shipping out packages. For Black Friday period, you would have had months to prepare for this. Your teams would have been preparing campaigns, hiring more workers, making sure you have enough kind of capacity for database queries and other wonderful things like that. We didn't really have that time to prepare. So unfortunately, some teams had to go turn off some of their systems. So for brands like TGX, if you go to their site right now, you'll unfortunately get a letter from the CEO. They're definitely doing the right thing. They're trying to take care of their employees, make sure all their store sheets are paid, all their warehouse employees are staying safe and making sure that they can deal with a lot of those concerns first. But if you go from a shopping experience point of view, you're getting really just a static letter from their leadership team. Same thing with some of the grocery stores. Definitely, they don't see the surge in kind of holiday traffic that you typically see. So we're getting put into virtual lines now as we wait upon online grocery shopping. And again, these things are not the greatest digital experiences to put in front of shoppers, but right now, kind of that is a necessary way for some of these companies to go look at trying to create a good digital experience for a subset of the audience they can serve during these times. And that's one way that we're seeing various folks in the market react. The other way we're seeing people react is looking at just taking advantage and stepping up. And these are the companies that have invested quite heavily in digital in the past. Really, I think one of the takeaways here is if you have invested in being digitally mature and growing out your ability to scale, a year or two ago, then you're able to kind of take advantage of these times by, reinvesting what you can. So if you look at, say, Lululemon, they have closed most of their physical stores due to COVID-19, but they have pivoted and said, hey, we're going to use our physical stores to be fulfillment centers. We have invested a lot into omni-channel. We invest a lot in a lot of systems to support this, so we can easily convert our physical stores into different distribution centers and still get goods out to our shoppers online and still make sure that they're delighted by having their shipments arrive even earlier now because we're actually taking advantage of in-store inventory, in-store fulfillment. Costco is a similar one. Again, they've been in the news a lot during this time period, and they made a big bet of putting down $1 billion to go acquire a provider that can help them with kind of last mile delivery, especially of the big and bulky items as people are within their houses. So again, you kind of see both retailers that have to kind of scope down what they can accomplish and other retailers that can kind of bet big and really pivot on the fly of how to actually stay close to their customers during this time. So trend 4 is really with physical stores shutting down. As Michael alluded to earlier, consumers are starting to think of their brand as an online experience. And again, as people aren't in stores as much during this time, we're seeing retailers shift quickly to a more digital customer relationship. So marketing spend is shifting very quickly in response. We're seeing also mobile remaining a dominant channel for customer relationships. And the key thing here is agility, as Michael alluded to. Organizational agility remains key in switching tactics. If you're used to moving quickly and looking at process and product and people during these times, you are able to actually adjust quickly to this type of environment. So what we see here is with the Commerce Next team, they studied marketing teams and what they're doing to adjust for the impact of COVID-19. So what we've seen in their survey is marketing teams are shifting marketing channels as their top response to how they're adjusting this period. We're seeing actually a big decrease in paid media and really a shift from acquisition to retention as you're trying to actually kind of focus on your existing customers. So we look at what that means for specific verticals. Again, this was an interesting piece of data from the Within team in their retail pulse there. For verticals that are seeing a big surge like essentials, you'll see that they are spending a lot more on Google as they're trying to optimize their SEO to have organic search traffic come in for the goods that people are looking for during this time, and that lets them kind of focus on their customers and creating that online digital experience to really be that main kind of customer interaction. Versus luxury as a vertical, not doing very well. People are withholding their spend on high-end items, unfortunately, and that means a lot of focus on conversion rates and conversion rate optimization. Again, switching more to retention, and if they are looking at acquisition, it's going into, like, say, social channels like Facebook, as opposed to like organic channels like Google and so on. So again, looking at which vertical and which types of products, we're seeing a lot of marketing teams shift to adapt to that scenario, and how quickly they shift will determine how well their numbers look over the next couple weeks, couple months. So as we look at this, one of the things that we were super interested in, because we tend to focus on how to optimize experiences for every single device type, we were expecting that desktop would trend up in terms of device share. People were at home more. We think people would have shopped more on their desktop environments, but actually that is not the case. As we pulled up data from our own analytics system, and we started seeing that mobile device share has started to rise slowly, but has generally stayed consistent during this period, which means for us, mobile being the dominant channel over the last year or 2 years, you need to focus still on mobile excellence. Even if people aren't in store, price matching on their devices or looking at inventory while they're inside your physical stores, they're still on their mobile devices all the time, even if they're at home. So for us at Mobilify, we've been a proponent of progressive web apps, and also a proponent of making sure you have the ability to quickly adjust and deploy changes to all your different experiences on desktop and mobile. Focusing on something like progressive web apps and how to deploy changes daily to that, for us, is super important as you look at your mix of shoppers coming in on mobile versus desktop and so on. But again, this is very vertical and category specific. You look at device share for, say, apparel, definitely people are buying clothes on their mobile devices, versus grocery. People are still doing that on desktop, and there's a couple theories of why that may be, but you'll see that this is very specific to the type of shopper you may have. Even if they're at home though, mobile is still very much a dominant channel that we recommend you focus on, which kind of brings us to the conclusion. If you're looking at both these trends of an unprecedented surge in interest in traffic to your site, and also a big shift from physical to really a purely digital customer relationship, our overall recommendation here and result is, teams that are focused on organizational agility and unlocking organizational performance over the last 1 or 2 years will be seen as elite performers. They can exceed or meet their organizational goals 2 times more likely because they have made investments into the people, process, and product around how they can deploy changes more often, whether that's content changes, whether that's campaign changes, whether that's code changes. How to optimize your customer experience really depends on how set up you were for really organizational performance over the last several years. And so that's really where we'll see, teams that have invested in this one really surge and really do well in a tough environment, versus teams that actually haven't really been investing in this, and they're the teams that actually are going to be struggling a bit more over this. So I'll leave you one last quote, my favorite quote of this era so far. We're all working from home. We're probably all on Slack or something similar. Slack CEO really was talking about organizational agility, and really in this environment, demanding an ever greater ability to adapt and respond. In an increasingly dynamic world, the fundamental business agility, business advantage is organizational agility. And that's really the last thought we want to leave you with is, how do you actually become more agile in a world where there's a lot of unexpected changes? So that's for us, our 2 trends and our main result there. So I'll pass it off to Francois, who actually has a couple related topics that he is excited to talk about.
Yeah, thank you, Drew. Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Francois Carrette, RVP for North America at OSF Digital. I have like 10 minutes to present the last 2 trends, starting with this trend number 5. And you're going to see that flexibility and agility are also some notions that Drew and Michael expressed earlier that we've been looking and observing within these past 3 weeks at OSF. So trend number 5, faster implementation for e-commerce. So I would say this COVID-19 situation has accelerated this need from manufacturers and retailers to get faster e-commerce platform implementations. Simply this reveals for these brands to the need to get to market more quickly, to attract customers and generate sales quickly. Not only for verticals that are essentials like like Drew mentioned earlier, grocery stores and stuff like that. But I would say even before this COVID-19 situation, we observed and faced a lot of requests from other verticals in the need for faster implementations for e-com. The good thing we have at OSF is that we built on top of Salesforce and accelerated the commerce framework, which is basically a fast go-to-market solution built on Salesforce Commerce Cloud, formerly Demandware, that allows mostly non-e-commerce players to jump quickly on an e-commerce platform and start selling online and learn about the online selling. I wouldn't say this solution match for existing e-commerce merchants who are already on an existing e-commerce platform, but this accelerated commerce and fast implementation for e-commerce is definitely something I've been asked by the market on verticals like wineries, online gaming. I recently signed a new customer, which is a university in the US, to start selling online classes. And you've all noticed how many things we do online now. So this situation just reveals that this need for faster implementation in terms of e-commerce platform is going to grow again and again after this COVID-19 situation ends up. So this is a trend number 5, and we can move to trend number 6, which is something that OSF has been doing for more than 15 years now. The company has been operating. Basically, our claim is work from anywhere, deliver everywhere. And it links me to this notion of remote working, which is in North America pretty well developed. And this crisis we're facing has accelerated this trend. And we really think that in the future, in the very near future, and even nowadays, companies will be shifting more of their workforce to remote work. There are some obvious benefits. Some companies already know it, but it's always good to update and remind what these benefits of working remote are. First of all, you offer flexibility for your employees. I mean, I've been a classic brick and mortar or a classic office worker before joining OSF, and I moved to this fully working remote mode 6 years ago, and I can really identify the benefits in terms of flexibility. I mean, you can manage your timelines and priority meetings a more flexible way. You don't need to consider 30 minutes or 1 hour commute in your daily work and so on. It's obviously something that most of our 1,100 employees across the globe love. And even if we have some local offices, like 30 in the world, most of our people and employees prefer this way of working. You can also envision, partial home office, splitting the week with days at the office and days from home. So this flexibility that we offer our employees is obviously something we observe also with our customers that start enjoying this remote working, and having e-conference like we're having today is just something that is now getting more and more popular. The second result is the direct output of offering flexibility for your employees. If your employees are happy and have this autonomy and flexibility to work and manage their daily schedule, the productivity increases. I don't have any KPIs to share right now, but it's something we can really see internally in our company. And this is definitely something that your company will inherit in the future. And then last but not least, having this home office architecture and setup with your company will help you face similar crises that we'll have in the future. Hopefully not as big as this COVID-19, but if this thing happens, it might happen in the future. So having this home office setup already in place allows you to face any kind of crisis with non-disruption and agility in the business. That's also a situation we faced at OSF when the crisis started, like 3 weeks ago. We didn't feel any disruption or need to adjust our current setup in terms of IT, cloud architecture working and stuff like that. So it's also a huge benefit that companies like retailers, manufacturers can benefit in the future, face any kind of crisis with non-disruption in the way you work and you have your community collaborating all together. So this is the two main trends that I've observed and the company have observed that are really in alignment and complementary to what Drew and Michael have shared earlier.
All right, Francois, you can hear me okay?
Absolutely.
All right, good. Thank you so much for that. Drew, Francois, thanks so much for your 4 digital trends there, in addition to the 2 that I'd mentioned. So just a quick wrap up of our digital experience trends from our experts here. Number 1, humanized digital interactions, connecting more with your audience. Number 2, agility is a mandate for survival, more specifically agility, speed, intelligence. And there are some examples in there about headless commerce, headless CMS, and personalization. Number 3, the increase in e-commerce verticals related to home and well-being. Understanding, what the demand is going to be, or as best as we can identify, scale up your solutions. Think about supply chain and other areas of the whole process, the whole journey. Number 4, digital relationship is the brand. And so important in today's COVID-19 environment and our new normal moving forward. And how do we make sure to deepen that brand, not just, as Drew mentioned, with our staff, but our processes, our technology, and bring them all together. Number 5, e-commerce implementations and the need to upgrade. It must be faster. And as Francois said, it's so important that you're able to bring your teams together, and that might be your internal teams or your external teams and the related technology. And so, for example, there's a reason that you have eSpirit with OSF and Mobify speaking together, is because we offer a wonderful solution for organizations to deploy content-driven commerce quickly and to deploy it on progressive web apps or whatever your channel or touch point might be. And finally, number 6, enabling work from anywhere and delivering anywhere. And there's no doubt, in this current environment moving forward, we're all at home, and we're leveraging our mobile platforms and our channels to work from anywhere and to have things delivered to us from anywhere, or to deliver things anywhere. And so those are super important in this environment. So Drew, Francois, thank you so much for sharing your insights and the data and the qualitative insight as well. And what I'd like to do at this point, so we're about 1:45 Eastern, and let's see, Beth, if you could pull me to the next slide. Yeah, thank you. So why don't we, let's take a 10-minute break and a little bit of a preview for you of when we come back. I will be moderating a panel around digital strategies and how to get closer to the customer. And I'm very excited to have 3 experts from retail companies joining us, from ASICS, Seabags, and Pure Hockey. So do join us back. Let's say it's 1:45 now Eastern. Why don't we come back in 10 minutes, 1:55 p.m. Eastern, and we'll bring out Laura, Melanie, and Matt. Stretch your legs, grab a drink, answer some emails, and don't forget, we're giving away a prize when we return. So look forward to seeing you back here in about 10 minutes or so.
Thanks, Michael. Just a couple questions too. Do you want to take some of the questions, or are you going to go for a break right now?
Let's see. Sure. Actually, did you get a question that came in?
Yeah, the 3 questions came in.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, why don't you jump in? Yeah, go ahead.
Sure. One was from an audience member asking, does it appear in the trends that organizations with existing investment e-com infrastructure have been able to successfully scale or deploy additional stores or sites? Yeah, so I think if you look at the different types of sites out there that have been able to scale to traffic demands, people that have been on cloud providers that had that built-in scaling have been able to kind of weather a bit of this better, or people that move to public clouds and take advantage of some of the ability to actually add in, easily other, servers and instances are great. And people that have moved to headless architectures that can scale out front end and back end separately have been weathering a lot of the surge in demand a lot better. And that's really just based on how prepared your teams are. How often have they flexed their muscles and kind of have run kind of variations to this in the past? And is it kind of naturally part of their normal day-to-day kind of engineering practices or not? So that was one. There's a couple other questions if you want to get into them around just the shape of traffic. There are questions on how has like the origin of traffic changed. Are they still coming from social channels, direct, organic? And has the shopping behavior stayed uniform in terms of like time of day? The time of day one's interesting. I haven't peeked at all the data at an hourly by hourly basis. What we'll be doing afterwards is we'll be putting together a bit of a more detailed blog post. And usually what we'll do there is do a kind of a heat map that covers kind of hour by hour kind of sessions on a given site. I'd be interested. Traditionally, it's usually, first thing in the morning and after work is when we'll see a lot of people shopping during the weekdays. Has that changed? I will definitely try to answer that question in an upcoming blog post. And same thing with kind of traffic sources. Because of shifts in marketing spend, definitely for those who have, decided to pull back investment in, say, social channels and ads there, that will definitely change the way people are looking for actual goods. And especially since, a lot of the essential goods are coming just straight from kind of direct traffic and organic search, that has changed a bit of the shape of the sources of traffic. And that's it from a questions perspective. So yeah, thanks, Michael.
Good. Yeah, thanks, Drew. Thanks for jumping in for that. As you're on break, you think of some more questions, please do put those in the Q&A panel there. And Sean and Pei from our teams will grab those questions for you, and we can address them either offline or sometime during our second half of the session. And let's see. So I got about 1:50 or so Eastern. So let's take 10 minutes. Why don't we start up at 2 p.m. Eastern, right? So that's in about 10 or 12 minutes. And we will see you back there, and we'll introduce our panel and get on with some questions. Not only some questions I have, but I want to be able to pull in questions from the audience. So I look forward to seeing you in 10 minutes or so. Let's dive right in. And I wanted to kick things off with respect to our panel session here. Now, the digital experience trend is very important to understand where we're going. And, really exciting for me is the fact that now I'd like to introduce our three panelists. We have Melanie from ASICS, Laura from Seabags, and Matt from Pure Hockey. I will introduce them, and then I'm going to kick things off and ask them to talk a little bit about themselves. I do have a whole set of questions that I'm going to talk through with them. We're going to have a discussion. And what's super important for me, and I think it's valuable for you as attendees, is that we have as much interaction as possible. So at the bottoms of your screens, you will see once again, there's a Q&A icon there. Click on that Q&A icon, and as we're having a discussion, I'll be checking that Q&A icon, and as I see questions, I will find good spots and pose those questions to our panelists. All right, so just a quick check here. Laura, can you hear me okay?
I sure can.
All right, wonderful. Melanie?
Yep, I sure can.
And Matt?
Yep.
Excellent. All right, so we're doing well so far. So let me introduce our panelists here. So Melanie Sisk is the Director of Marketing Technology Programs at ASICS Digital, a division of ASICS tasked with developing direct-to-consumer personalized experiences to customers. Leading a team based out of Boston, Melanie is responsible for delivering scalable marketing tech solutions globally to ASICS, Onitsuka Tiger, Haglofs, and ASICS Runkeeper. Prior to ASICS Digital, Melanie has over 10 years experience in digital marketing, working in similar global roles for Adidas, Reebok, and WL Gore, and ultimately responsible for marrying business objectives with digital solutions. Thank you, Melanie. Raise your hand just so we know we're talking about you, or you can see her name underneath your little box there. Thanks, Melanie. Let's see, Laura Nato. Laura is the Vice President of Marketing and E-commerce for Seabags, Portland, Maine-based manufacturer and retailer of handcrafted tote bags and accessories from recycled sales. Prior to joining Seabags in 2014, Laura was the e-commerce channel manager for manufacturer and marketer Cuddle Down, and also enjoyed over 10 years at renowned cataloger LL Bean in roles that included international marketing, advertising, catalog production, and e-commerce. And so Laura's with us. Once again, you can see her name underneath the picture, and she just waved her hand for us. Thanks, Laura. Matt Rosenthal. Matt is Director of Marketing at Pure Hockey. Pure Hockey is the nation's largest specialty hockey equipment retailer. Matt leads a team of marketing professionals focused on improving customer acquisition, retention, and lifetime value, and also oversees all customer-facing marketing communications. Matt has specific experience leading initiatives relating to customer loyalty programs, brand management, and corporate strategy development. And so Matt's in our, right there, you see him waved his hand. Thank you, Matt. All right, so we're good to go. We got to check everything seems to be working well so far. And so this panel, I started this off as I was thinking about, it was, once again, for folks that missed it earlier, this was going to be an in-person event at Boston's TD Garden, the home of the Boston Celtics for basketball, the Boston Bruins for hockey, and many concerts. And actually my background here is where our event was going to be, in a very large conference room there at Boston Garden, or TD Garden as it's known today. So we have our virtual event here, and the way I set up the panel is that we can have a great discussion and learn from these experts about how they're getting closer to customers and how they're leveraging experience-driven commerce, and what their challenges are or their opportunities. And so I have a bunch of questions. I'm going to start off with some high-level questions, and no doubt, we have COVID-19 going on, and so I have some questions in my bag here around, what these folks are doing in this environment, and how they're pivoting if they are, and how they're making a lemonade out of lemons, so to say. So let me start things off. If each of you could take it a minute or two, and maybe if there's something I missed in the intro, or if you wanted to give a brief intro to your company, and more specifically, what are you doing within your organization? What's your role? Laura, could you start us off, please?
Sure. So I think you got my bio, so I think I've got that covered. But I work at Seabags, and Seabags, for those who don't know what we create there, you could see them behind me there. They're totes and accessories made from recycled sails that we've reclaimed over many years, and we do it one at a time through a network of sailors and other contacts in the sailing industry. And we repurpose them into useful totes, accessories, and home products that people can use. So, it's a 20-year-old company, and more than 20 years old. And we were, founded on this concept of sustainability before it was something that was very cool. So what I do at Seabags is I run the e-commerce channel, as well as all the marketing for our other channels as well. We have a very well-established retail channel. By the end of the year, we hope to have over 30 stores. And as well, we have a really well-established wholesale channel that works directly with small boutiques and retailers throughout the country, as well as large national brands that we partner with, and corporate accounts.
Great. Thanks, Laura. Melanie, you want to take it up next?
Sure. So to elaborate on my bio as well, currently at OSF Digital, and as you listed the brands, we're definitely focused on retail, especially with footwear. So today we have a litany of brands under that parent company of OSF, which is actually really critical for what this role entails. And that's really bringing kind of a single customer view and making sure there's a seamless experience across those. So I work with stakeholders across every major region and locale. So I'm online constantly, late night calls, early morning calls. And the brand itself is really expanding beyond the footwear industry, and really wants to add services that support and the betterment of people's lives. So there was the acquisition of Runkeeper, the running app, as well as Race Roster. So it's really about what's a full customer journey or experience, and how can we only elevate those experiences for our end customer. And there are other brands that maybe don't fall so cleanly within the running, but maybe more outdoors. So Haglofs as well. So, and then Onitsuka Tiger is more of a fashion brand, which is really interesting, and it keeps the experience really dynamic and the solutions fun in terms of trying to make that scalable to quite different strategic objectives. But with previous experience, I think I'd be pretty bored without those challenges. So I really do enjoy kind of bringing that expertise at ASICS.
Great. Thanks, Melanie.
Yeah, like you mentioned, Michael, I've worked at Pure Hockey. I'm director of marketing there, primarily focused on the digital marketing side. So that's all of our channels, such as paid search, email marketing, social media, retargeting, anywhere that our customers are online, either from an information gathering or a shopping standpoint. That's a lot of the areas that I oversee. Pure Hockey is a company. We were founded about 25 years ago in Worcester, Massachusetts. It's a family-owned business, and through organic growth and some strategic acquisitions, we've now expanded to be all over the country. So we have over 50 stores from coast to coast, as far west as California, as far south as Texas and Florida. And we also have a pretty robust e-commerce site as well, which has become even more important in the last couple of weeks, as I'm sure it has for a lot of other businesses too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. No doubt about that. So before we dive into the heavier questions, meatier questions, I'd just like to hear a little bit, if it's okay from each of you, how your organization views this concept of experience. And in the digital experience trends, we had talked about, what we felt was really important for engaging more with folks online, right? And thinking more about experience and not just, in the pipeline before their customers, but once they are customers, the experience at that point. So it's that whole buyer's journey. And maybe if we start off, let's see, Melanie, let's see. How about Laura and Matt, could you kick us off, please? Tell us a little bit about how your company sees experience in your whole value process.
Yeah, I'll start. Sea bags as a whole, by definition of the brand, it's very experiential. If you introduced us and mentioned that we're in Portland, Maine, which is where our headquarters are, and if anybody's ever been to Portland, it's a beautiful coastal seaside town. So just that in and of itself, it's something you have to come and see and experience and be a part of. But that whole experience is kind of baked into the DNA of the brand itself. All of the products we sell come from a recycled product that had an entire life on the water before we ever got hold of it. So, over 700 tons of sales that we've reclaimed and made into bags. They all have, sea salt spray from, many days on the water, imbibed in them. And, when you come to Sea Bags and go into one of our retail stores, you feel the experience of being there, hearing the lobster boats humming outside the window as they crash against the dock. And you can actually feel the building move because we're actually on a wharf. We're suspended over water where we manufacture the bags themselves. And while you're there, you can look into the other room and see the bags being sewn. So that whole environment really breeds experience, and people want to come and experience that brand in that manner. But it also really reinforces the key pillars of the brand and how we were founded. Is, our mission is that, we're made in the USA. And so of course that experience of coming to our retail stores, you're seeing it happen. It's, it's as authentic as it gets. They are actually making the bags right here on site. We're green in product and practice. You see the bags themselves in the retail store. You can actually see people coming in and doing a sale trade and bringing a sale into the store. So that's part of that experience as well. And then, lastly is that we like to give back to our community, and there's a lot of community touch points. But, one of the main things is when you are right there on the working waterfront, sandwiched in between our neighbors, which are fishermen and other, marine business owners, like you get a feeling how all of those things are very authentic and stitched into our brand experience itself.
Great. Thanks, Laura.
Sure, I'll go next. So one of the things at Pure Hockey that we really try and integrate into our experiences, both in-store and online, is matching the level of commitment that our customers have to the sport. So if any of you play hockey or you have family members that play hockey, it's not something that you really can do casually. You need a lot of equipment. It costs a lot of money. There's a lot of travel involved, a lot of early mornings, late nights. It's not really something you can do on a whim. So our customers that are playing hockey, they're really in it for life, and it's a huge part of their lives every day. And so we need to make sure that we're matching that level of commitment in every part of the experience. So whether that's helping them find the right gear for them, and not just the right gear for us that it drives the most profit, but based on really understanding what their level of play is and what position they play and what style of play they have, really understanding on a one-to-one level who the customer is and what they're looking for. That allows us to provide a much more personalized and hopefully memorable experience that customers can find what they're looking for and know that we help them find what they were looking for and that's right for their game. And that's been a really important part for us of building a lot of customer loyalty over the years.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Matt. Melanie?
Yep. So to be honest, I think what they both just iterated, I could be right on with that too. I think where we're trying to differentiate is, with Race Roster and Runkeeper, which are more about the, people using those during the experiences of hypothetically using our products. It's really, I think, shows that we're trying to deliver a connected experience, but also open up those channels in terms of better understanding our customers to deliver more personalization. So it's kind of a give and take. As much as we get the information, we also want to improve the experience and services we give those customers. And we're still growing. We're definitely and evolving. We're definitely early on in what many companies have going on right now, or have, which are digital transformations. But we've been able to ramp pretty quickly, given that we're all aligned to a pretty the mission of making improving the lives of our customers however we can. So but personalization, consistency, and also some transparency, and just being an easy, low friction experience when with whatever platform you're engaging with us on.
And Melanie, just for folks that may not be as familiar with the different brands, maybe talk a little bit about, we had spoken before this session. I think it's so interesting how you've expanded into different parts of the lives of runners. Maybe you could talk about, Race Roster and Runkeeper and what that really does to impact your influence and engagement with your customers across their journey, be it with your products or on their own lives.
Yeah, so if you were to map out, your customer journey, usually you only really get to target people in kind of a sliver of that. So for runners, especially if you're an e-commerce shop, it's that shopping engagement. What's interesting and what I find, exciting with ASICS, particularly as they purchased Runkeeper, which is a very popular running tracking app with a huge database and a lot of loyal followers. And so they had acquired that, I think, about 4 or 5 years ago. And then very recently, this past, in 2019, acquired Race Roster, which is kind of like the, race registration, kind of ticket master of running races. So from training to actually competing, to what your apparel is, where we were able to build or own those ecosystems and touch points. And I think, that also gives us kind of the responsibility to deliver a connected experience, not just try to funnel people to a conversion. It really genuinely is about how do we elevate every touch point and elevate that with all the other information we have throughout the rest of the experience, and really drive value. So as well as the core understanding is that even though at the heart it is a 70-plus-year-old company who had developed innovative running shoe technology, and we really do believe that that technology is very differentiated and a great product for people too. So it's really difficult to work for a company if I think you don't really believe in the mission and the purpose. It's very easy with this one. So it makes it even more exciting and fun to try to pull that through every implementation, every touch point that we're developing or growing or enabling globally and across all the brands.
Mm-hmm. Got it right. Thanks. You have so many different touch points and opportunities. So I like how you spread out those different brands and acquisitions that help you bring value to folks, and it's really over and above the actual purchase of the product. So all three of you provided some wonderful examples about experience and how your company thinks about it. And as a as a former hockey player and boater and runner, I'm connecting with each of you. And Laura, I love the bags, your background there with the sea bags.
You
Very
like that?
Yeah, it makes me want to go sailing. With a bag, of course.
Yeah, right, exactly.
But I'd love it now if you as I thought about the questions for the panel, a next question would be, your shift to online, but of course, with what's going on in the environment today, can you each talk about, okay, this is great, what happens in the store and the tactile part of it, and I love hearing the seagulls in the background and seeing the sewing of the bags and the hockey experience and the running. So how now have you, and are you translating that to the online experience? And of course, with COVID-19 and most, if not all of us, at home, unable to go to stores unless they're essential items, how are your organizations striving to create, as much of that experience online, at a high level? And then if you have specific anecdotes or examples, that'd be great too. Whoever wants to start first.
I can certainly continue. We can keep the order going. I mean, I think in general, one of the things that, our retail stores are in destination locations that have some seasonality to them in some cases. So there are times of the year where people aren't actually patronizing our stores, and they do rely on our website as a means to connect with us and engage with us. And we have a really loyal audience in social media, people who are highly engaged with the brand. And, that's kind of an obvious answer that we engage directly with customers via social media. And that's one of the ways that we keep the experience going. But we do have a couple of different ways that we do that. And some of them are the usual suspects, but other things are just new technologies that we're embedding that give people a reason to interact with our brand a little differently. And a couple of them are unusual. One of them in particular is that we have an auction on our website that we do once every couple of weeks. We have a whole category of products, they're bags, that they're called our vintage auction bags, the vintage bags rather. And vintage is, I don't have one of them behind me on this little cube wall, but they're the original insignia on the sale. Every sale has one original insignia on it. And sometimes they're a design or a graphic, sometimes they're a unique set of numbers or letters, but every now and then we will get one that is so rare in the shop that we don't know what to do with it because we can't put a price tag on it. It's such an unusual one. One I'm looking at right now from where I'm sitting is this big, enormous shamrock. And it's green and it's beautiful. It was on a sale at one point. And so we will make it into a product, not know how to price it. And so instead we'll put it up on the website and let people bid on it. And it creates a wonderful retail experience on the website for people to engage with each other and bid against each other over a course of days. We get to post about it in social media and there's a lot of feedback. And then people start talking about, oh, I love that bag. Could I make a custom one? And of course, we have a whole custom part of our business where we will actually custom design sea bags for people. So it starts a dialogue with our customer base around customizing bags and what the custom capabilities are. And then that takes it even a step further. So then they realize, oh, we can customize bags. And then they move on to our custom visualizer product, which is you can then actually personalize a bag on the website and see the customizations right in front of you happening on screen. And if you like what you see, you can save the project for later. You could actually check out right then and there. And then a custom bag's designed to your liking, maybe with your initials on it, so you can take it on your boat.
So you have this sort of conversation starter with these auctioned bags, right?
Exactly.
I love that. And then it leads to other things online and it engages them. So you offer the different things online, but you offer touch points that will help activate that relationship that you can carry from there.
Exactly. And the thing is that we never know what is going to resonate at some points with customers. I mean, some people can identify with a bag because of the color combinations on it. And some people might identify with the bag because of the letters and the symbolism this, assortment of letters has to them. And everybody places different value on these things. And especially because of that, they engage with it differently. So it's always nice to throw it out there and let the audience come back to you with some feedback on it and use that as our experience opportunity.
Very cool. Matt or Melanie, did you want to go next?
Sure. Yeah, I can go next. So one of the things that we've done in response to coronavirus is really pivot to be, we're normally a hockey rink centric company focusing on things that people need to skate, ice skates, helmets, gloves, things like that. And now we, like most businesses, have to be home centric. So we sell a variety of home training products, things to improve your stick handling, things to improve your strength, your agility. And that's normally, it's an important part of our business, but not certainly the core of the business. And in the last month or so, we've had to pivot just about every part of our organization to be home centric. So that's from a supply chain standpoint to marketing to fulfillment. Everything that we're doing now is trying to allow hockey families and players to stay engaged with the sport when they can't leave their house and they can't go to the rink. So, and I think like Laura mentioned on social media, having a really loyal following on social media, we're encouraging our fans and followers to tell us how they're staying involved with the game at home. So sharing pictures of their basement setup or their garage setup or their driveway. And people are really proud to show what they've built. So just encouraging people to share what they've done and give inspiration to other hockey families that may be looking to keep their kids entertained when they have a call or they have to do something for work. We found that it's a really helpful way to keep people not only engaged with us as a brand, but also engaged with the sport and continuing to improve their skills so that once everyone can get back out onto the ice, they haven't seen any major drop off in their performance.
Very cool. So give me an example, one or two of the most popular items that folks can use at home.
We have one item that's called the Super Deker. The best way to describe it is it's like whack-a-mole, but with a hockey stick, and you stick handle a puck over lights that light up. It is so popular that we are sold out of them, and it's on pre-order right now. So all I can tell you is if you want one, pre-order one today, because I don't know when you're going to get it if you don't order it now.
That was my next question to follow up, which was supply chain. You know, as we shift to these products, and I think you sort of answered a little that it's a challenge, right?
It is. And for us in the hockey business, this is typically a slower time of year for us heading into the spring and summer. And so we plan the business to not have as much inventory this time of year because typically we don't need it. So it's been a lot of very frantic scrambling to try and get product in as quickly as we can. And we're doing the best we can.
Yeah, certainly. Melanie, you want to add something to this or please feel free.
Yes, sure. Absolutely. So specifically in response to COVID, we've, like a lot of similar other responses, have done our best to, remove things like paywalls and make, content easily accessible and or content we provide or through ASIC Studio app, we actually provide workouts and things like from stretching to, a HIIT training video that we produce as well. So there's the ability to kind of distribute content freely to really help ease the current burden, as well as encouraging people to find more, I think, unique or fun ways to engage in races while the weather's warming up. I think people are getting a little antsy, not just because of quarantine, but because the weather's warming up. So we've started to roll out virtual races in Runkeeper. So keeping people connected and engaged in something collective that I think people really enjoy, why they enjoy the road races so much. So, there are some fun initiatives we've launched really quickly in response. And I think that's just reflected how quickly we can kind of deliver on that experience and something beneficial. And it also was, massively important that we were able to deprioritize maybe a lot of other larger scale projects to make some runway for those types of initiatives to deliver those experiences. One of the other things is that I think similar to other programs, we have a membership program called 186. So also, working on what can we distribute to members who we know and can speak to one-to-one of what can we do to assist you further and personalize during this time. It is also important to understand that, there is behavioral indicators right now that might be unique. So maybe also being very, very carefully aware that the current metrics and behaviors might not be long-standing, and just to be careful to, when this post-COVID experience ends, that we realize that there's a deviation from standard metrics and there might be a new normal, but trying to make sure we're setting our KPIs for the year and business objectives appropriately to respond to that, but not too much thrash, depending on what the impacts now could mean. But in general, I think really, because what I've said earlier, we're about bettering the lives of our customers. It's been whatever we can do that we think will genuinely help our customers through the day-to-day, big or small, in terms of especially content and removing things like paywalls.
Got it. Thanks. And for folks, I see we had a bunch of folks just joining. So Laura from Seabags, Matt from Pure Hockey, and Melanie from ASICS. And I see a couple of questions in the Q&A. Please do enter your questions there. I have one more question, then I'm going to pull one from the Q&A here. Anything else? I don't want to too quickly get away from this COVID-19. Anything other specific you wanted to mention about what your company has done or preparing to do?
I would love to just talk a little bit more, because I talked a little bit about our retail stores. One of the, like most retailers out there, we had to close our retail stores, and it's, for us, that's disappointing. But at the same time, I'm really happy to say that today we opened up curbside pickup at our main retail store location, which is really exciting. And again, goes back to this idea of being creative and quickly reacting to the situation and trying to provide customers with services that help make this easier on them as well. So that's really exciting. The other thing that I really am very honored to be able to talk about is that we're making PPE at Seabag. So we've taken our really skilled force of craftspeople who, are in the cut and sew industry, and taught them how to make the PPE rather, and they are now making very, very high quality masks that we're able to donate to organizations that can't get their hands on it. In addition, we are selling it to some organizations in the healthcare industry to distribute as is needed. And our goal there is just to try to help out and do our part as much as possible, again, to be part of that community that gives back.
Great, thanks. Melanie, Matt, before we move on, anything you wanted to add? No? Okay. Let me take a question from the audience here. Like I said, in your Q&A at the bottom of your screen, please feel free to enter your questions there. So this question from Eric: understanding your customers is a key focus when looking to deliver personalized experiences. And just to add in my own part, in either individual or micro segment or segment, whatever it is. What strategies do you leverage in your organizations to better understand your customers? And then how do you ensure that gets applied to the digital experience? Thanks, Eric.
I can take a crack at that. So I guess just to reiterate the question, it's how do we use, hyper segmentation to in turn drive a better experience?
Yeah, I guess sort of like, if I interpret this right, it's voice of the customer, right? So how do you understand what that voice is and what they're saying, and then do you have a process in place to leverage that voice to apply better digital experiences?
Yeah, to be honest, we've really, I think I could call it leapfrogging in terms of what we've done in the CRM space recently, which is super exciting. So we started with needing to completely re-platform. We weren't even on a cloud-based system. So we moved to Marketing Cloud, Salesforce Marketing Cloud. And from there, we were able to then, I think, marry all of our data pretty seamlessly against a single view. In a data lake, and from that, we combine that with qualitative and quantitative data that our customer insights group is constantly refining, but also to deliver what we're kind of calling micro-targeting or enhanced segmentation. So we've enabled some 50 attributes that we're constantly computing every day from multiple touch points across whatever is under, has enabled our data layer. And then we're able to really fine tune where we think people really have genuine interest. And there's always a really interesting, people sometimes don't know what they want, and sometimes what they say they want is different from their actions. And I really believe that you should let people tell you through the actions of what they click, what they look at, what they read, as opposed to necessarily surveys or some qualitative studies. So we're kind of unleashing that, I think, on the general, our marketers, and they're able to now really see a lift in targeting their customers. So we're using that, that's, again, it's in a single customer view that we're constantly maintaining. So right now that's been really taking off right now. So we're really excited to see how that goes from here. So that's been probably the biggest strategic endeavor we've taken on in the past, 6 months. But and then really that's foundational to the personalization we're going to layer on top of that through all of the front end experiences.
Thanks,
I can add to that a little bit. So I think, like Melanie was saying, the key for us is using the data that we have, whether it's our customers are telling us themselves or we can infer it from their actions on the website, to make the best possible experience. I think, like Melanie mentioned, there are some situations where we think we know what's best, or maybe the customers have told us what they like, but then the way that they behave on the website is a little bit different. So we use a lot of on-site A/B testing tools or personalization tools, and just gather as much data as we can. Rather than trying to guess what we think our customers are going to like, or which version of messaging is going to be best, or what layout or placement or colors, anything you can think of, we try and test it, because we don't have to guess anymore. There's so many tools out there that enable data collection and really meaningful insights that can add up to pretty significant lift in conversion rate, in revenue, in retention. So we try and do as little guessing as possible and as much testing and refining.
That's great. I'll just add a little bit. We are actually in the process of migrating to Salesforce Commerce Cloud, and part of our hope in that migration is that we will be able to leverage the data that we've gathered over time, plus new data that obviously is available every day, to start to respond to customers in a more dynamic way, using tools like AI and some of the personalization tools and machine learning. So I think those are things we're looking toward the future for. I mean, we're definitely, like everyone else, using business intelligence tools to try to really respond to customers and do a little bit of segmentation to deliver experiences, but it's not as dynamic as where we envision it to be once we are migrated.
Yeah, so an example from our side. So as folks that know, our new folks on the phone, I lead marketing for eSpirit. We're a content management system company, CMS, and so we integrate with a lot of commerce platforms. And we're one example of a customer of ours where we're actually enabling to deliver a dynamic digital experience. It's Bros. They're a $6 billion plus company, and they offer mechanical components and other components for vehicles, for cars. And so on their HR site, they actually identify, data of customers or folks that have already been on site, registered, or behavioral data online. And they're actually changing up the actual website based upon who's online from an HR perspective, right? Because they have thousands of people that work for them, and they have to hire a lot of people. And so they're leveraging, and I think you had mentioned it, Matt. So right there's online data, offline data, there's behavioral data, and they're pulling it all in to change the view that the end user has, and they're engaging job applicants, as they're coming into their site. So it's a little different than online commerce, but I think it's an interesting off-commerce example, if you will. But the whole concept of this dynamic digital experience, and it might not be individualized if there are challenges with that, even micro segments. I think, Melanie, you had mentioned it about these concept of micro segments, that even at that stage, we can really help our customers and connect with their interests and needs. Mm-hmm. So another question here, just to bring in, as we're on this idea of customer experience and voice of the customer, what metrics are your companies using? What KPIs, what indicators of success are you using to determine, hey, are we on the right path? Is this working? Maybe we've identified something's not working and you do something different. So shorter said, what indicators of success or KPIs are you using to measure your success in connecting with buyers' needs?
I'll start. You know, I think that we're probably all using very similar KPIs. There are the usual suspects, of course, conversion rate and traffic and units per order and average order value and things like that. But additionally, you know, we put a lot of weight in the ratings and reviews on our website. You know, on a general monthly basis, we'll get about 4% of all of the transactions on the site will come back and review an order, which is great. I'd like to see that at 5% at least or higher. But I think it's great. And I think the more important piece for us is last month, our average star ratings were 4.88 out of 5. So, I mean, that's like really fantastic. So when you're hitting it, you know, that high, that to me is really reinforcing the fact that we are delivering value to our customers and that, you know, they're getting a product that they feel like met their expectations and they'll come back again. You know, we're aiming to, like I said, grow that this year. We're about to launch a loyalty program. And I do think that the launch of the loyalty program will increase the volume there, as well as, again, increase the engagement with customers around ratings and reviews and how we use that information throughout all of our marketing and touch points with the customer.
Yep. For our business, our loyalty program is a huge driver of success. And like you mentioned, for KPIs to measure success and building better experiences, we look at how many of our customers and how many transactions are coming from loyalty members. Because for us, loyalty enrollment is a proxy for whether or not they think they're going to shop with us again. If they don't think they're going to shop, then why go through the hassle? And we're lucky to have a really loyal customer base. We've removed a lot of the barriers to joining the program. We actually inherited a loyalty program from a company that we acquired a few years ago that had a fee to join. We removed the fee, incentivized people with a gift reward to join towards their next purchase. And that's seen a really big increase in loyalty enrollment. And when we get people in the loyalty program, not only do we give them incentives to keep shopping in the future, but we also have the ability to market to them a lot more cheaply and directly, because we can use channels like email to communicate on a more personal level rather than having to compete in those more broadcast channels like paid search, where you're trying to cut through the noise of your competition as well.
Yeah, and then to add on to that, I mean, one of our pretty, you know, central KPIs is, you know, CLTV, which is, you know, obviously, I think for most people, that's a pretty standard metric to be tracking. And that's when we closely marry with the idea of, you know, the loyalty and, you know, repeat lifetime purchases, but it does indicate, you know, brand consideration is always top, and brand love, and et cetera. So that's probably one of our more central metrics that we track pretty closely, especially within our 186 membership program, aside from the other, you know, standard metrics everyone else has noted. But then I would say what I do see coming up as probably a contender, because lifetime value is directly correlated to, obviously, you know, transactional history. It'll get interesting to start to elevate what engagement metrics are going to be, you know, how important those are, because, you know, it's, again, like our mission being not just about the transaction and the shoe. Engagement, I think, will quickly become some of our primary metrics, you know, and those are obviously detailed by channel, but knowing that they're engaging and coming back and, you know, return customers or consumers to the platforms, even if the transaction isn't involved, I think those will be interestingly kind of bubble up as more primary metrics, even though right now we're very e-commerce focused. But I think with personalization and engagement, and those KPIs are going to get more and more prevalent and important.
Got it. Thanks, Melanie. Matt, Laura, thank you. So, Laura, you mentioned something earlier. It triggers another question I have, which is reviews, and how do you leverage customer advocacy, right? And it was actually in the earlier session we had for trends, I talked about experience-driven commerce and mentioned, for one of our very large retail and e-commerce companies, they use our headless content management system to bring in social media, from offsite that have hashtags of their brand, of course, into their own e-commerce area, and then they attach a product to it. So I call it shoppable social media, right? So maybe if Laura or the rest of the team talk a little bit, how important do you see the curation of what's happening across different social channels, and how, or if at all you're thinking about bringing that in for your own customers to leverage customer advocacy from a digital perspective?
Yeah, that's incredibly important to us. We've had a long-running hashtag campaign called our sea bag sighting campaign. We've asked customers for years to, send pictures and show us where they take their sea bags. And, maybe early on we had to ask, but it's at a point now where it has gained such momentum that it really does fertilize itself. It's a campaign that we do actually syndicate those user-generated content posts right into the website themselves. You can see it by going onto the homepage, and there'll be the feed of regular posted content from customers. And people will post things from all over the world. I mean, we've seen Eiffel Tower pictures and people down in the British Virgin Islands with their sea bags. It's always a thrill for us. But it gives us an opportunity to engage with customers, and we did make them shoppable as well. We embedded a tool on the site that makes that happen, and I think that's really that's been very beneficial, and it again gives people a reason to come to the website, making the site a bit more sticky. People always want to see their sea bag sighting on our site, and then once they get there, they start hunting around or they look for somebody else's. And that engagement's really fun as well. Plus, when people do see it out there, there's all of a sudden an education that comes up, like, oh, I didn't know they actually sold that. That's really cool. And so that's been really fun for us. The other thing that's a secondary benefit from doing that is that customers take really good photos sometimes, and they say really great things. And when they do that, a lot of that content really stands up well in our messaging to customers, either in our email program and our website. So we tend to use a lot of that content to send messages about new product launches or how people are engaging. And it also helps us tell some of their stories because a lot of customers have a story as to why they bought a sea bag. They'll come and they'll say, oh, I bought this because, my sister has a sailboat and they got married on the boat, and there's, some long story that goes with it. And usually that story at some level is worth telling in some other marketing capacity. So there's a lot of opportunity in user-generated content and bringing that right into all of your marketing and on your website.
You got to shift the sea bag sighting to online, like a Where's Waldo?
Oh, well, it is. Well, here's the thing. We have it online. What we did is we actually shifted it to retail stores. It kind of went in the reverse, which is unusual. So we always had it on the website. But when our retail stores started expanding, we realized that we need to give customers a vignette in the stores to do their own sea bag sightings. So we created multiples then. So any retail store you go to should have, some type of, styled vignette that feels very coastal, might have some buoys, and you can pose in front of it with your new sea bags purchase. And people do take opportunity to do that, and it's really fun. And we usually amplify it a bit by giving away prizes to people who post the best sea bag sightings.
Thanks. Matt, Melanie, please.
Yeah, I can jump in. So interestingly, so for social, we definitely use it, I think, in what I would call, kind of standard ways to engage. Right now, we haven't really delved into UGC as much. That's definitely on the horizon. I think really where we use social is that I think maybe the running community in general, but they're very open and they share how they're experiencing a product. So with a shoe, let's say the fit is slightly off, we're able to take a look and get ahead of potential, product issues or problems arising, and then react faster to those. again, to better the delivery of what's the customer has, and then remediate that how we can. So it's a little more reactionary, but it's really where you hope your digital ends up impacting when you're at a retail company that sells physical product, which is if the digital or the marketing can help start informing some of the product, life cycle, that is, kind of unheard of. So it's always a big challenge to, I think, be able to aggregate and deliver that type of insight, but it's maybe not necessarily having a direct impact on the user's experience at the moment, but the hope is that that informs better products as well. But yeah, we're still dipping into UGC. Obviously, the rights management and the curation is always an interesting problem to solve, especially with operations and staffing. But yeah, I've already started looking into that now for integrating in our roadmap. So we'll be there quickly, I think.
Matt, did you want to add something to that, or?
Sure. Yeah, I can add something briefly. So we have a partnership with the NHL, the National Hockey League, which is called Learn to Play. And through that program, over 20,000 kids each year get exposed to the sport of hockey for the first time. And they get, for very, very low cost, head-to-toe equipment and ice time with instruction to learn how to play. And for most families, this is their kids' first time being involved with the sport. And we've seen a lot of success. I think, Laura, like you mentioned, having sort of a backdrop in the store, we realize that people are just really excited to share the kid's face when they put on their gear. So whether there's a fitting event in our store, we encourage them to take pictures of the kids and put it on social media with a hashtag. For some families that aren't able to make it to an event, there's an online ordering platform. And when the package arrives at their house, they either send us videos or photos of their kids opening the box. And it sounds cheesy, but the smiles on the kids' faces, it makes it all worth it. So it's really cool to see how excited those families are. And then they share that excitement with their neighbors and their friends in town. And they say, hey, what is Learn to Play? How do I do that for my kid? And that's been a really popular way to get new families into the program as well. It's just people seeing their neighbors and their friends and family posting pictures and videos from Learn to Play.
Last question here. And look, moving forward, there are definitely challenges with COVID-19. And I know you folks, you have stores as well as very powerful e-commerce presence. And I wanted to finish off looking forward. And yes, there are challenges, there are problems. What opportunities, if we look at it like that, and there's a lot of ambiguity, right? Uncertainty. And I just recently wrote a blog post about, retail leadership steps to weather the storm. And I'd taken some information or a quote from Untitled Chief Digital Officer, Lockie Andrews, and she had mentioned, the need to act, plan, and lead. And there are some more specifics there, but I'd love to hear from each of you as we close out here, moving forward, how are your organizations preparing for next steps, be it at this, either acting now or plans, or maybe things you're doing from a leadership perspective and communicating with your customers. So what are you doing in preparation for these next steps, and honestly understanding that, most, if not all of us, aren't sure what the next steps are.
Yeah, I can get started. One of the things that we're doing right now, which I think will inform our next steps, but we're responding to what is of value to our customers today. What do they need right now? And a great example I'll give is that Easter is Sunday. People can't go to the store to go buy candy for Easter buckets. And that, for a lot of people is challenging because it's an important holiday for a portion of the, the country. So, we partnered with a local company here to create Easter buckets and sold the buckets online, pre-filled with candy, and, turned that whole thing on within 48 hours. And it was wildly successful. People were so happy to have these. And it was clearly filling a need. There was a void, which is I can't get to the store. and somebody's solving a problem for me. So I think that we all need to take a look right now at what problems we can solve for our customers. And I think I heard Matt say it at the beginning, talking about, you know, what they're doing to solve problems, and Melanie mentioned it as well in terms of their apps. So I think we're all working in the space of what types of problem solving can we do today. But then what we need to do is look out in the future is the problems that we're solving, are there legs to this going long term? And I think in some cases there are, that, you know, if we solved a problem in this short window, well, likely these problems or solutions that, you know, we're coming up with have other applications. So be thinking about these applications and how to scale them or expand them further, and work them into the offering that we're making to our customers. But the other thing is, I think that, you know, in my mind, I'm looking at this as, you know, we need to, when we can get back to business, is that we need to not constrict, but really expand and think about how we can accelerate and take all of the innovation and creativity that people have had to employ over the last few weeks and have that fuel where we're headed. So I know that my team right now, like I said, is working on a replatforming project. We have not hit pause on that. We have not slowed down at all, and we are going full steam ahead, because in our mind, we need to be ready for Q4, because that's coming, and you know, we are optimistic about where things are headed.
Great message, thanks.
Sure, I can go next. So I think, building on what a lot of Laura just said, I think the key for us is figuring out what are the things we're doing now that we need to do more of in the future. What are the things that we're doing now that we don't need to do as much of in the future? What are the things that we have no idea whether or not we need to keep doing them or not? We won't know for months. There's a lot of things that I think we've sort of been forced to be a little creative with solutions to problems. And in some ways they're patchwork and not sustainable. And in other ways, maybe they've allowed us to approach a problem from a completely new perspective. And I think we have to look across the entire organization, not just from a digital marketing standpoint, but from supply chain, from customer service, from procurement and buying, every part of the business. How can we do things a little bit differently so that we can run our business more effectively when things are normal, and also so that we're better prepared for a situation like this in the future. I mean, it's hard to imagine we'll be in a place like this again anytime soon, but I don't think anyone thought we'd be here in the first place. So it's hard to know. It's hard to be prepared for something like this, but hopefully we can take some learnings and really apply this so that in the future we are better equipped to be more nimble, more agile, and make some on-the-fly adjustments to be able to continue serving our customers when our business operations are not the way they normally are.
Thanks, Matt. Melanie, would you like to finish this off here?
Yeah, so I think one of the telling things when we did kind of take a look at the impact COVID had on the business, yes, obviously it impacted retail stores, but I guess really enlightening part was that, you know, we went into this mission before COVID. We're still on this mission of bettering the lives of our customers, specifically targeting that running experience and journey that they have. What was interesting is that there didn't need to be a ton of change we needed to react with. Maybe some minor tweaks, like we said before, we removed the paywall on the upgrading of the Runkeeper account, but we only just saw a lift in engagement and signups. And I think what that means is we're doing something, we're on the right track in that we are providing valuable services, offerings throughout the full customer life cycle. Agreed that it makes our argument easier in a traditional retail company of the importance of digital and building that flexibly. And even centralizing that too. So there's always the push and pull of where do, you know, decision makers and owners of tools lie? Are they within the businesses that own the P&L? Are they in a centralized function? So it's been interesting to explore how that impacts everything. And so I think there will be learnings organizationally that will be impacted by or react to, but it's, I think, staying flexible, but also, you know, helps give us the confidence that we're on the right track to be providing people with useful, you know, and validating what we're delivering. So if anything, it was reassuring that we're on the right path. But in terms of change, yes, you know, lots of maybe modifications, a little bit more agile and flexible for, you know, maybe supply chain and things like that. But for now, I think we felt pretty good about our ability to react and, you know, be able to provide these services that actually people went to and sought out for during this time. So we were in a lucky spot, but also feel very, not validated, but empowered that, you know, we're doing something genuinely good and contributing, I think, to easing people's burden right now.
Thanks, Melanie. Thank you so much. So Melanie Sisk from ASICS, Laura Nutto from Seabags, Matt Rosenthal from Pure Hockey. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for sharing us what's happening in your organizations. I know this is a challenging time. We love your brands. Certainly wish you all the best of luck in the coming months. Thank you for that and joining us once again.